What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. Can you feel it coming? I can feel it coming. Can you feel it coming?
I can feel it. We're moments away. Which one? Which deal are we talking about?
Call it in the air of the night.
Which deal are you talking about? That's what people are saying. That's what people are wondering.
All will be revealed very, very, very soon. But we've got a nice Tottenham update for you guys today. Welcome to the stream, people. You guys are just dying for some transfer news. Dying for it. So are we, to be fair. Absolutely. Cannot wait to get those 3 beautiful words from Fabrizio Romano. Hopefully they come very soon. But before we get into it, let's talk about our sponsor, OK Jersey. The best in the business, people. Look at this one, Simcop. Not long ago. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Top quality stuff. You can't
Beautiful.
get better.
It's beautiful.
You cannot get better.
Long sleeve this
Still
one.
my favourite one.
Got a zip.
Still my favourite one.
Nice.
You get 15% off with the code Spurs15. The link is in the live chat as well as the code Spurs15. All your best football clubber, from World Cup jerseys, from World Cup training kits, from all the Spurs stuff that you want, or even if you want a retro jersey, they've got you covered there. And, you know, I know a lot of you have been buying up some PSG jerseys as well. They're all there too. So whatever you guys want, OK Jersey have got you covered. Such cheap stuff as well, as like £15 a kit, and you get a further 15% discount with the best discount, the biggest discount on YouTube today, which is 15%.
And Jonathan Boyd says, guys, I got 3 shirts with OK Jersey, and they were quite nice.
Well, there you go. Did you use our code?
You better use our code, Johnny boy.
Because if you didn't use our code, you're not getting as big as a discount. You know, we give you bang for your buck here at We Are Tottenham TV. So get over to OK Jersey, get your kits in time for the World Cup. I don't know if it'll get there for the first game, because that is literally in a few days' time, but it will be there in timely fashion. And the new Spurs kits are due to be launched there very, very soon as well. So get your football clubber, okjersey.com, Spurs15 for 15% off. And there you have it, people. Let's get into it, people. Let's get into the Tottenham update. And first up, we are going to be talking about Destiny Udogie, because there's been a few rumours circling about Destiny in recent days. Tutto Juve have claimed that Tottenham value Destiny Udogie at £26 million.
26?
£26 million.
Is that it?
What is that all about? No way is he valued at £26 million by Spurs. However, SZY has come to our rescue, and he says, please ignore the reports regarding Destiny. He's viewed very highly by Roberto De Zerbi. There are no plans to sell him this summer.
That's what I like to hear. I think when it comes to Udogie, I think we all appreciate that when he's fully fit and when he's playing regularly and he's at his best, he's a very good left back. I still think even then, obviously he's got a lot to improve. I think defensively, he's sharp and he's strong. He's hard to beat. I think offensively, he gets to the byline very regularly. He's a force to be reckoned with his power. Does have a lot to improve in the final third. I think we can all agree. I think his crossing needs a lot of work. Probably maybe his decision making when it comes to when to pass, when to cross, all that kind of stuff definitely needs work. So he's not the perfect left back, but he obviously at this stage of his career, considering he's been here a couple years now, I think he's done very well when he has played in a Tottenham shirt, and he's proved he's one of the better up and coming left backs in the league. But obviously the big issue is his injuries. That's obviously the thing that's consistently held him back in a Tottenham shirt. I don't think he's ever really had a season where he's played a fair amount of games, but every season he seems to get a significant injury, and that is something that is probably, when other clubs are looking at him, that probably goes into that price tag you're talking about at 26 million. I think if you're talking about just the quality, you're probably talking about a 50, 60 million pound player there. But obviously when you factor in the injuries, that's obviously going to contribute to teams being less likely to invest heavily in him because they can't trust whether he's going to stay fit. Obviously he would have to pass medical and all that, so that would be determined. But when it comes to his fitness, that's obviously been a big worry. I think for me, I wouldn't sell him for 26 million because I think a bit like Van der Ven this season, if he can have a season...
26 million, that's only the first instalment, mate.
I think a bit like Van der Ven this season, if he can have a season where he proves his work, proves his fitness, like Van der Ven every year was saying, "Oh, you can't stay fit, you can't stay fit." And then this season, I don't think he had one injury, did he?
He had one small one, like for 1 or 2 games, but that's it.
Yeah, he pretty much played every game. So he's shown that in the right conditions or whatever changes they made, obviously at the back end of Ange's second season, they did this whole thing with his running style and they changed a few things for him. So they adjusted what they've identified was going wrong and they've been able to keep him fit. So if they can do that with the doggy, I think it's worth keeping him around. I wouldn't sell him on the cheap, and then if he goes somewhere else and improves his fitness, all of a sudden his value probably doubles or triples overnight. So 26 million is a very, very low fee. However, there is a conversation to be had whether we'll have to, I don't know what the conversations are like within the medical team. Is there a feeling that he is just going to be an injury-prone player, that he's not going to get over these injuries? If we know something, if they know something that we don't, then I would consider selling him. But right now, with all the information I have, I want to hold on to him.
Yeah, I think you need to give it at least another year at the very minimum, because I think he's got top quality traits and, physically, when he is fit, he looks like a beast on that football pitch. So I'd love to keep him around. I really believe in his qualities. But it's true, like, the injuries have held him back. Like, in terms of before he joined Spurs, he didn't have those injury problems. He played 35 and 33 games for the 2 seasons at Udinese. First season at Spurs, 28. Second season, 25. Third season, 20. So it's actually going down every single year. So we need to see injury-free season, or at least him getting up to 30-plus games in a season.
Well, which is interesting because Robertson's out here. So on the flip side, it's going to ease the burden on him because the truth is he's never had a real alternative, has he? Ever since he's been in the club, we've been shoving Jed Spence there. But every time a doggy's fit, he gets the shirt. And Spence has never preferred a doggy when the doggy's fit. But now he's got proper competition. So it should ease the burden on him, but also he's got to fight for his place now. Whereas before, it's like if you're fit, you're playing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think it should ease those worries. Hopefully he won't get injured every time he does play. It seems like that's what happens every time he plays. He's back for a 3 or 4 games and then he gets injured. So hopefully he can turn over a new leaf. The medical team can work with him and get him playing for the majority of next season, because I think we can all agree there's a very good player in there if we can keep him on the pitch. Next up, let's talk about Van Hecke. All right, Van Hecke. A lot to be said about Van Hecke. We brought you the news last night that Spurs potentially going in for that 3rd bid, and this has been reaffirmed here by Ben Jacobs, saying that Tottenham do intend to place a 3rd bid for Jan-Paul Van Hecke. There is optimism that a deal can be agreed. Fabrizio Romano says that negotiations continue between Spurs and Brighton for Van Hecke. Talks planned again this week. Van Hecke wants to move. De Zerbi wants him. Club-to-club talks still on after Brighton have rejected 2 proposals. Alistair Gold says that Tottenham board sees Van Hecke as a direct support for head coach Roberto De Zerbi, especially since he is a player that he knows very well and trusts his abilities. Van Hecke is considered a very important target for De Zerbi, as Van Hecke is capable of quickly adapting to his style. Brighton will not agree to sell unless a large sum, despite only 1 year remaining on his contract. The deal will be a true test to Tottenham's willingness to support Roberto De Zerbi in this transfer market. And I don't know if you saw as well, Mickey van der Ven was in a press conference yesterday for the Netherlands, and he was actually asked about Van Hecke, and he said, on Van Hecke, he says, I did talk to Jan-Paul about Tottenham for a bit. I told him it's a good move for him. It's a good step for him. So Agent Mickey doing the bits.
On.
We had Agent Javi working on Savinho. Now we got Agent Mickey working on Van Hecke.
And if other rumours to be believed, there could be a real Dutch invasion coming into Tottenham. So I think Jan's looking at that situation thinking, if I can get all my Dutch friends in there, we're going to pull together.
Jan, man. I wish it was Jan.
Jan Paul.
Jan Paul. I thought you were talking about Jan Baton.
No, Jan Paul Van Hecke. So, yeah, I think he's looking at that situation thinking, if I can get all these players, I know them very well, we can all ball together, it's going to be a marvellous time, which is maybe why all these talks about him saying, it's only Tottenham, this is the team I want to join. Maybe he looks at that thinking, I can really find a home there. And also, I think it's underestimated the kind of feeling for some. Obviously, lots of players do want to just join the best team, but also some players look at a situation and think, I could help bring that team back up. We can go there with a mission and build something from the ground up together, rather than just going into something that's already successful, like create something successful of your own. There are some players who like the challenge, who rise to that challenge. Maybe Ian's one of those. If it is true that there's talks with or potential interest from other clubs that say, that sounds like he only wants Tottenham. Lovely to hear just a player who wants to be here, who's pushing for a move to come to Tottenham, who probably does have other offers on the table, you'd imagine, and yet he's looked at the Tottenham project and is like, that's what I want to be part of. That is super exciting. And it is exciting as well that this definitely is a signing that clearly is coming from De Zerbi. He's clearly identified Van Hecke as someone who he's managed, who played under him, who he knows very well. He's clearly identified him as someone who he really believes can make a big difference for us and can really slot into the back line, hit the ground running. He's somebody who's not going to hopefully take too long to get up to speed with what De Zerbi wants from him. So I think that's hopefully some intent from the club to show him, look, we trust you, we trust your eye for talent, we trust your opinion, and if you're saying he's your defender, we're going to go for him. Because maybe in other scenarios, maybe we would have overrid De Zerbi and gone with Vuskovic, or maybe even said to De Zerbi, look, they're asking for too much money, and with 1 year left in his deal, we're not going to pay that amount. And it sounds like we're going to get as close to that as possible, maybe even meet the valuation. So we're prepared to pay the price for him. So obviously the deal's not done yet, so I can't give him too much praise, but that seems to be an exciting development from that point of view as well. So for me, it's a really exciting deal. I think he's a really talented defender. His on-the-ball ability is top-notch. It's really, really great. It's yes, we are probably going to lose Romero off the back of it, who I think is a better defender. But to replace him with someone like Van Hecke, who's got Prem experience, who's been getting better and better, who knows De Zerbi ball, and as well is very good playing at the back, which is something we will be losing with Romero. That's really encouraging for me.
Yeah, I think what's encouraging for me, why I think this deal's going to get done, is because apparently he's stated that he only wants Tottenham Hotspur and he's going to pull out on any other, or won't listen to any other clubs that do come in. That puts massive pressure on Brighton, because they know they need to sell this summer with him going in the last year of his contract, because they're not going to get a fee like this, in January. And obviously next summer it's going to be completely free if he refuses to sign a contract. So Van Hecke has actually put the ball firmly in Brighton's court now, because they are under pressure to sell. So I think, look, they're playing hardball right now, but I think the next bid is going to be accepted. I really believe that.
Yeah, I mean, if the rumours are true that we're already near like 45 plus 5, I mean, at that point you're splitting hairs. Yeah, at that point it looks like it's going to be agreed, and unless something drastic happens. That seems way too close for it to break down at this point. But we haven't got any magical words from Romano. We haven't got any bombers from Ornstein. Ornstein's been very quiet on this deal, hasn't he? Or no, did he say so? He did say something initially, did he? He actually broke it. Yeah, he broke it, but he hasn't said anything since. But from all the other reports, it seems to be heading in the right direction. And as you say, the fact that he wants to come, he's saying, I only want Tottenham. That is, it's great. It's great to hear. It's great to hear, which when you consider the fact that we finished 17th twice, and you're thinking, I would have thought someone like Van Hecke will look at us and be like, they're a clown show, they're a mess, I ain't touching that with a barge pole, especially if the truth is that if Liverpool are interested, they've just lost Konate, he could probably see himself starting for them, and he's got Van Dijk next to him who starts for a national team. You would think that would be a brilliant opportunity for him to go there. If he's looked at that and think, actually I prefer to go to Tottenham, that just goes to show that we've got more pull even than people give us credit for.
Yeah, at the end of this season, everyone's saying, oh, Spurs aren't a big six club anymore. Spurs aren't this. Spurs aren't that. Well, we're about to take Van Hecke, who only wants to join Tottenham when Brighton finished in the European spot this year. We've got Senesi through the door on a free, who Bournemouth finished in 6th. You know what I mean? These clubs who are finishing in Europe, we're still able to take their best kind of players.
Yeah, which is, I've always said, when it comes to that, well, we're always going to be a bigger club than those guys. So if we can throw our financial weight around a bit, use that advantage, we can attract players from those clubs, even if we are finishing below them. Because these players aren't stupid. They know if Tottenham get to a stage where they're competing again and they're investing in the right ways. I know it seems like a long way away right now, and I know we've been a mess. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's easier said than done, but these players also know if Tottenham get it right, we can be challenging right up there like we have before. Whereas Brighton and Bournemouth, it's a lot harder for them to continually get it right constantly, to be at the very top of their ability, just to maybe scrape into the lower European spots. That seems to be a ceiling for them. So I think these players know that. And it raises their profile as well.
Absolutely. And he's also said, World Cup. He wants it done before the World Cup. World Cup starts this Thursday. Then the first Netherlands game is on Sunday. So it's got to happen soon. It's got to happen soon if he wants it done before the World Cup.
Also, people might have noticed yesterday that said age 25, and now it says age 26, because today is Van Hecke's birthday. So
happy birthday.
Big happy birthday to Jan Paul, and let's hope you get a nice birthday present with a nice juicy move.
It's always a good sign when you're signing Geminis.
Exactly. Come on, big up the Geminis.
Next up, let's talk about Savinho. A few developments on him today. Alistair Gold saying De Zerbi is eager to sign Savinho and the club is working to finalise the deal in the coming weeks so the player can join from the start of pre-season. And Simon Jones says that Tottenham are now advancing in talks over a deal worth £60 million for Man City Savinho. Further signings are planned as discussions continue with other targets. So hopefully there's some unnamed targets in there. But it looks as though Spurs are very much advancing on the Savinho front as well. This is one that David Ornstein has been very quiet on. He's not mentioned him once. Fabrizio Romano he's actually just quote tweeted his old tweet with a little eyes emoji and a Brazilian soon emoji. So maybe this one will be the here we go before Van Hecke. Or I have been saying, since last week, tomorrow's the day, tomorrow's the day, tomorrow's the day. But I think today or tomorrow could actually be
it could actually be there. We'll see. Usually when he tweets that, Romano, it's usually followed by some sort of update in the next hour or so. We'll see what exactly it's going to be from him. So we await more Romano updates. But for me, I'm super excited about Savinho joining the club. We need some more quality in the wide areas. I think Savinho represents that. I think we're getting him at a time where it's an opportunity. Yes, it's a bit of an opportunity because he hasn't had the best of times at Man City for whatever reason, and we're getting him where his stock is maybe low. Look, obviously, if he was at Man City smashing it right now, he wouldn't be available and he wouldn't be wanting to come to us, would he? So we are getting a player who is a bit off form at the moment, and there's a reason why he's been made available for Man City. We can't get away from that. But he's not the first player to have not made the grade at Man City and moved on elsewhere and done very well. You look at the likes of Palmer, look at the likes of Morgan Rogers. There's a few players that have failed to kind of make the first team or really make the impact at Man City they wanted and have gone on to do stellar stuff. And a lot of players actually who go from Man City end up leaving and end up doing some really good stuff at other clubs. So I think Savinho could very well be in that camp. I'm super excited about him joining if he does. And I think him and Kudus on the wings, I think they're going to cause havoc. I really do. And I think it's going to be very, very difficult for teams to handle both of those players. And I think some more dribbling ability isn't going to go amiss. There's a report, as you say, Simon Jones saying 60 million. That is a bit higher than I would have liked. I think the reports of 45 to 50, which was before, is a bit more my style. I think when it comes to the fee, I think paying for him, I think 60 is definitely a big overpayment, I would say. I think that's probably a bit too much. I don't know if I'd pay 60, but if they're certain about him, I don't really care about the money. But I think for me, I would value him around 45 to 50, something like that.
Yeah, I think so. With the output that he's had over the last couple of years, definitely, I think that's represents more value for the player. But it doesn't matter what I think of the player. It doesn't matter what you guys think out there. It matters what Roberto De Zerbi thinks and how he thinks he can fit him in. And if he has earmarked him as the player that could potentially change our fortunes in the front line, then go get him done. Go get it done. Like if it's 15 million over what he's actually worth, doesn't make too much of a difference at the end of the day. We need players through the door, so go get the players.
Exactly.
What's Timothy saying on Savinho?
It's not about Savinho. He's saying what our plans are for after Savinho. He's saying Harry Wilson is being considered. Everton have also had a look, unsure if he's keen, could stay at Fulham. If he's more of an opportunistic rather than strategic signing, if it does come into fruition, also depends on fitness levels of Kulu and Kudus. Essentially, Wilson would be an opportunity rather than someone who the club has strategically planned for.
Yeah, I saw this post from Windy Coys as well on X saying that, you know, don't be surprised if we bring in Harry Wilson. And I was thinking about it with Harry Wilson, like, he'll obviously be a backup for Mohamed Kudus, but he's a backup that knows where the goal is, and he's a backup with, you know, supreme ability in that left foot of his. Is it left footed or right? Yeah,
left foot.
Left footed. So I think we could do a lot worse as like a backup option, like a rotation option.
Obviously, he could also play number 10, can play off the right, which obviously fills in for Hecke while we're kind of getting him up to speed right now. Just doesn't. I know he's had a stellar season. I think off the back of that, a lot of people obviously have a recency bias and think this guy is, you know, he's quality. I don't think he's a bad player. Don't get me wrong. I just think he's kind of a middle of the road kind of player. I think he had a massive overperformance for a lot of the season, and I think he. I don't think last season represented. Obviously, I think it represented him at his very, very best, but that was, for me, an outlier season. I think he's probably more of a 10-goal contribution a season kind of player rather than someone who got, nearly 20 last season, which was fantastic for him. And he had a great season, but I think it was also inflated by what was a great purple patch in the middle way through the season.
I don't disagree, but in terms of like a filler player for a year or two, I don't think he'll ever let you down. I think he's a player that always works really hard. And in terms of output, he's proven in the last 2 years that he can, you know, get more output than the majority of our wingers. You know, so
he's not really a winger. I wouldn't sign him to play on the wing. I'd sign him to be a number 10. I don't think he's a winger that deserves he wants.
I think he's one of these players where if you were to sign him, he wouldn't start for us that much unless we got injuries. And then he's a decent player to come in if we got injuries, and he's a player that can come on in the last 20 minutes of game and impact things.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could be a pretty good super sub late in games because he can provide that little moment out of nowhere, which he did a lot last season. And maybe it's a case where he's got momentum behind him, and if he comes into the season off the back of what was a great season last season, full of confidence to keep trying things like he's doing into an attacking system like Spurs, maybe this could be a real surprise. Like he could surprise a lot, not surprise people because everyone knows his quality, but maybe he can actually continue his trajectory, let's say, from last season, which would be phenomenal. If we get that on, what was he on, a free, or was he 1 year left? Either way.
He's a free.
He's a free. So if we get that kind of ability on a free, it's hard to say no to that. I just don't know if he's got that in his locker consistently like he showed last season. But
yeah. He's not a signing that excites me, but I think he can have a value in the squad. That's all I'm saying. All right, next up, let's talk about Crescencio Somerville. There's been some conflicting reports on Somerville today. First of all, our good friend Juice Blachhoff of Football International, who's been bang on the money with the Van Hecke stuff, he says Somerville to Tottenham is off. But Alex Crook has said that Tottenham are expected to return to West Ham winger Somerville after bidding for him back in January. So which one are we believing here?
Juiced, because I think is Somerville on the squad for the Dutch team?
I think he is, yeah.
Yeah, I think Juice is probably closer to the situation. Maybe he's hearing things at the moment about him. So considering that we're focusing on Savinho right now, I don't think we're going to jump at the chance of getting Somerville through the door unless we're really certain about him, and I don't think we are. Somerville seems to me like a signing that is down the list that maybe we'll go for if other things don't work out. I think we've got things that we're going to go for before Somerville. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do go back in for him later down the line. I just don't think it's going to be right now. I think right now we've got other targets after Savinho, and I don't think Somerville's high on our priority list. That's what I reckon.
I hope you're right. And last but not least, do you guys remember a player that we used to have called Alejo Veliz? Still on the Tottenham books. Quite amazingly so.
I swear we've sold him like 20 times.
Apparently now he has completed his move to Bahia, pending an official announcement. He leaves for €9 million, €1 million add-ons, and a 20% sell-on clause. So, I mean, he started really well at Rosario Central, and then I think it kind of like petered out for him. But decent money for what he is.
Still a loss, but yeah. I think it's more than about time that he obviously left this football club. We were never going to give him another opportunity, unfortunately. It's a shame how it's all worked out for him, but I think he just wasn't a good enough player to be playing in the Premier League. I think that's the reality at the end of the day. So I wish him all the best. And yeah, I think 8 million, you've got to take that right now, given how low his stock is, probably.
Yeah. All right, so that is your Tottenham update for today. Obviously, we'll keep you updated as and when anything does drop regarding Spurs transfers. Just a quick prediction. Who's Here We Go we're getting first? Hecke or Savinho?
I reckon we are getting Savinho first.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that tweet from Romano today, I think it's imminent. Imminent. All right. Well, that is your Tottenham update. Who do you think we're going to get over the line first? Will it be Van Hecke or will it be Savinho? Are you saying we're getting both over the line?
I think we're getting both over the line.
Yeah,
I think they're
so
both
well.
going the right direction. All the noises seem to be good. I think when you hear reports that both players really want to join the club, and we know Savinho was fairly close last year, and when you're hearing stuff like Van Hecke, he only wants Tottenham, when that starts happening, I think you can safely say things are heading really in the right direction and they're imminent. I think a lot of the time you hear interest and the clubs are close to agreeing fees and stuff like that, and then it can break down. But when you hear things like he only wants that club, then I think it's getting very close at that point.
All right. Well, let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Another quick mention to our sponsors, OK Jersey. Best football clubber on the internet, top quality, real pucker stuff, guys. 15% off with our code Spurs15. And just look at these ones that we've got on today, man. This is my favourite one, like I keep mentioning. It's so nice with the gold letters, the gold badge. If only we had a gold trophy to go with it, but hey ho.
One day. One day. Yeah, look, they're really great quality. The best replica merch you can get on the internet, I think, and really affordable prices as well. And even more affordable if you use our code Spurs15 to get 15% off. It's really, really great stuff. And there's so much to choose from on the website. So you go over to okjersey.com, pick whatever you like, and use our code Spurs15 for 15% off. And enjoy the shirts when they come, because they're really, really great quality.
And you never know, at some point very, very soon, potentially even during the World Cup watch-alongs, might be doing some giveaways for you guys, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. But get your jerseys, okjersey.com, 15% off. Link is pinned to the live chat, and the code is there too, Spurs15 for 15% off. Let's get into some super chats. We've got a couple to get through. This is a members chat from Fabro Tiaz, member for 56 months. Nearly Daigle standard,
Wow,
but not quite Daigle. Replacing Romero with 70 million Van Hecke is a bit over the top. Romero is a better centre-back, and they are not that dissimilar in age as well. PL tax is huge. I don't think it's going to be 70 million.
No, it won't be 70.
I think 70 million is crazy talk. It really is crazy talk. And look, I think if he had 2-3 years, they'd be demanding that. But with 1 year to go, it's never going to be 70 million. No. I think 50 million is going to be the mark.
I agree. In terms of what others he's saying, Romero's a better centre back, and they're not too dissimilar in age. PL tax is huge. I agree. I think Romero is better. Obviously, Van Hecke's a couple of years younger than Romero, so you do get a little bit of a younger player who's maybe got more peak years ahead of him. PL tax. Look, that's it. That's obviously proven players. When you're buying players from Premier League teams who have money, it's going to be a bit more expensive. If you're going for Van Hecke before he joined Brighton, obviously it's going to be a lot cheaper, but it's a lot bigger of a risk. And I think right now Tottenham are clearly trying to get proven players, I think, aren't they? I think that's clearly. I think they last season as well. They tried to do that last summer. We know Paulinho. I think they tried to get Gibbs White as a.
You think they tried to get Gibbs White?
Well, obviously tried to get Gibbs White as and so I think that was the kind of plan last summer. Didn't go completely our way, but I think considering how badly we've gone over the last 2 years, I think there's clearly a concerted effort, isn't there, from the club?
I think that's been an effort for the last good number of years. We've brought in Solanke, Richarlison, Maddison. Who else have we brought in from the Prem? We've brought in quite a few. So,
We've brought in some, but I think before then, Vicario, Van der Ven, Bergval, Gray, it wasn't like we weren't so lasered in on only Prem proven. At the moment, it seems as though that's all our targets are Prem proven.
And I don't know if that's the best way to go about it. I don't think it should only be Prem proven players. We should be looking at the European market as well, because there's so much value to be had out in Europe.
I agree. I think you're missing out on a whole host of talent which you can get for so much more affordable prices if you look at the other markets as well. But as we've said before, I think this club does maybe lack a bit of imagination, and when we do go outside the Premier League, we seem to get burned as well. And to be fair, and when we stay in the Premier League as well, we get burned. So either way, but I agree. I think if we had a proper what do you call it?
The only problem is when we're shopping in the Premier League, we get burnt for more.
Yeah, it's true. But if we had a proper extensive scouting network, which we should, I'm assuming I don't know if we do or not. I don't know
We
what.
must do, man.
But my point being, if it was a proper good quality one, then we shouldn't have to rely on just getting players who are already playing well in the Premier League to get the players we want. I think we should prioritise them. Don't get me wrong, but I think we should also be looking for the next big thing. We should be getting those players before Brighton do, or before Brentford, or before these other teams. We should be also in for those kind of players. But our scouting's not good enough to identify the real talent that's going to work in this league like those clubs do.
True. We just let them do the scouting and try to take their players.
And then we pay 10 times the price.
Exactly. Joey Boy says, we've got to be massively realistic. We were 17th twice. Savinho improves the team in terms of a transfer link. Robertson is ideal as well for the short term. What do you mean? What does he mean that we have to be realistic in terms of not being happy with the transfer targets? I guess that's what he means.
I guess if people aren't delighted. And no, I agree. I think, in a different situation, I'd love to go for more high-profile players, more maybe even try and take players off, say, the likes of Villa or Newcastle or things like that. And let's say we were in the top 5 last season or something and we had Champions League football, maybe we could go to some of these other clubs and try and bid for their best players, but we're just not there at the moment. Obviously, we can still take players off the likes of Brighton and Bournemouth, but they're a different level to those other clubs. So we do have to be realistic, but I do think we're doing all right considering under the circumstances. I do think these are good players. So I'm not unhappy with the window so far.
I think what I'm delighted is that how quickly we're moving and how early we're moving. And I think everyone knows, even with these players coming in, if we bring in Savinho, we bring in Van Hecke, Senesi, Robertson, we still need so much more, particularly in that forward line and midfield. So get these over the line, but we can't stop there, because how many times have we seen, last season we brought in Kudus and we're like, all right, Spurs are rocking and rolling. Who's next? Who next? I don't think we brought anyone in until the last week of the window. So we've seen it with this ownership before, where we've had a bit of a fast start and then it just goes quiet for so long. That can't happen again. We need to just keep our foot on the gas and keep, bringing in players. We can't rest on our laurels after bringing in some decent players.
Of course. Got to get all our business done.
Michael Hellman says, Roberto De Zerbi has brought the vibes back. Come on, you Spurs. He most definitely has. I think whatever you want to think about the ownership and whatever you want to think about the way we've conducted our business in the past, having De Zerbi here has brought some excitement. Looking forward to next season. I can't wait to get going next season already.
Yeah, definitely. I think already the fact that we ended the season with a few wins, and I think a lot of the squad are galvanised from the way that we stayed up, and there were glimmers of the football we could potentially play under De Zerbi. I think get a pre-season behind him, and all of a sudden you can be excited about some of the football we might play.
Yeah. N. Anup says Romero plus 50 million for Julian Alvarez. I mean,
I'll take that. I wouldn't mind that whatsoever. I think Julian might have a thing to say about it, but
I saw a report today saying Atletico Madrid would accept a bid of 150 million for Julian Alvarez, which is making everyone think he is the player for Real Madrid. Could you imagine if Real Madrid bought Atletico Madrid's best player?
That would be nuts.
There'll be riots, surely.
They've done it before.
Yeah.
Not to Atletico, but they've done it to bought Barca's best player.
Yeah.
So they've got a history for it, but I think it feels like it was a different day and age back then. I don't know. Maybe I can pull it off. I'll be shocked.
And Michael Hellman, again with the super chat, says, as a Spurs fan, our job to be unrealistic and loathed by everyone. Top 4 incoming. Don't be surprised, mate. Don't be surprised. We can get, if we have a stellar season next year. Look, I don't think Champions League is beyond real possibility. I don't think we're going to get it, and I think we're going to have an overperformance to get it. But I do think we can be back in European football next season.
Yeah, obviously it depends on the rest of the window, but 100%, I think we've seen Man United go from 15th to 3rd this season. It's entirely possible. Like, especially with no European football,
And it's 5th as well for Champions League.
Yeah, so I think, that's got to be the goal, I think, or at least getting back into the top 6. I think you can't really be satisfied until you're back there as a Tottenham fan. So as much as, yes, if we get 10th next season, that is a big improvement on last season, but you're never really going to be happy, are you, until you're back competing where we should be in that top 6.
And Samuel Jarvis says, guys, what about Igor Thiago from Brentford?
Yep, he's been spoken about. He's in the Brazil squad for the World Cup as well. He had a brilliant season, didn't he? He had a really, really brilliant season, proper goal-getter. The Saturday Haaland, they called him. Saturday 3 p.m. Haaland.
Well, we're playing mostly on Saturdays next season, so why not?
Sure, so why maybe he can get the top goal scorer for us. I think I'll definitely look at him. He's probably going to be very expensive, but I'll look at him. Bit of an update on Vicario from Romano.
What's he said?
He says Juve want Emi Martinez as priority for the keeper position after the Alisson deal is off. Talks have started to ask about price and contract details, high salary, but Juve keen to explore move. Another option remains to be Spurs' Vicario.
Oh, we're going to get stuck with Vicario, aren't we?
Seems as
Inter
though
move looks off. Juventus move, they're going for Martinez over him. Where's he going to go?
Back to Empoli. They still want him. Seems as though they're using him as a priority.
Yeah, it's not looking good on that front. The 2 teams that were heavily involved with him have gone for other targets. I'll have to wait and see what happens.
Maybe they saw his highlights from last season. Not so sure about this.
Yeah. It'll be interesting, though, if we do start the season with Vicario, will he be our number 1 or will Kinski be our number 1?
Good question. I think... Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll probably be Vicario, to be honest. And then he might lose his... his spot.
So harsh to Kinski, though.
I know. It's tough.
It's interesting because Himothy was actually saying that there's been developments about Verbruggen since he made a post earlier today saying that Verbruggen is more likely of the 2 of him and Baleba from Brighton. So, I mean, surely they can't bring in a Verbruggen if Vicario's staying around. Like, how's that all going to work?
Yeah, unless... no, we'd have to ship him off or even maybe loan him out somewhere if that happens. Vicario won't be here, I don't think. Vicario's not going to be here next season. I think we may end up loaning him out. I remember Guardiola did that with Joe Hart. Remember when he first came in? Joe Hart wasn't having him and he just loaned him out to like Torino or something. So we probably might end up doing something like that if we can't find a buyer.
All right.
A couple more super chats.
Is there more? Is there? Keep them rolling in, people. Arvand Hamisi says, Van Hecke this year reminds me of Richarlison in the Conte year. Big money on a good player, but not a necessary signing. Must go big on the centre midfield and the number 9.
I mean, I remember the narrative when we signed Richarlison was like we were improving a position of strength, which is something that big clubs should be doing. Like when we had Kane and Son, but you know sometimes you should also improve that position as well to make sure you've got the necessary numbers. I mean, for me, I think Van Hecke is a necessary signing for selling Romero. I mean, depending on what you think of Vuskovic, but I do think he's necessary.
Yeah, I think it's clear that De Zerbi, I don't think he has many plans to play Vuskovic next season. I think that's clear because not only is he going very hard for Van Hecke, he's also stated that, well, Alistair Gold said yesterday that Kevin Danso is very much a part of the plans next season He values his leadership ability and he values his mentality within the group as well. So I don't think De Zerbi has too many plans for Vuskovic next season.
Yeah.
So if there's no plans for Vuskovic, then it's a very necessary signing.
Yeah, I think it is very necessary. So when it comes to Vuskovic, at the end of the day, De Zerbi hasn't managed him yet. So obviously the players, Danto, he's managed these few games, and Van Hecke, he's managed at Brighton, so he trusts them. And he's made the decision. He definitely wants to bring them in. It's a shame that he hasn't waited maybe to see Vuskovic in person, but I think from another part, if he wants Van Hecke, then it's hard for the club to, if we really want to back him, then you've got to go with it.
And Samuel Jarvis says, what would you think we would have to pay for Thiago?
I
think high. Yeah. I reckon 70 million odd.
Yeah, you know what? He's younger than you think. When you look at him, he looks like 32, and he's 23. He's bad, isn't it?
He got a case of the Diego Costas.
Yeah, you're probably paying a pretty penny for him. Yeah, probably around that. When you're scoring that many goals in the Prem, and you're that age, I think. And
also, it's a supply and demand. There's not many good strikers around that you can buy.
Yep. So you go down the list. After Haaland and Thiago, it was like Calvert-Lewin and Welbeck, and those are the guys who were one of the top goal scorers. So if you're looking to sign a proven goal scorer in the Prem, Thiago, there's not many.
Yeah. All right, well, that's the super chats. We are going to get into some more of your comments. Strong once again, you guys. We are Tottenham Army, the best derby in the world. Let's see what we got. Let's see what they got.
Okay, so Richard P6V7Z said, so the fact we're getting business in early is obviously good, but I won't get too excited yet. If we take away the optimism, this is all still classic ENIC. On paper, you could argue we've actually slightly weakened our first-choice defence by signing Senesi and Van Hecke while selling Romero, Dragshin and maybe Vuskovic. Don't put that past ENIC, in brackets. We'll be turning a big profit. Let's see what else they do before we get too excited. Example, Savinho is our only big winger purchase. Will not be a successful window. Romero struggled last year, but he'll go to a bigger club and do well as he's ultimately a good player. On the other hand, I'm not totally against selling him, mainly as I think he's now been very unfairly marked by Prem refs, and that's a hard reputation to shift for players once it takes hold. If this is all part of a much bigger plan, then it's definitely a good start, but maybe I am too scared by ENIC to allow myself to believe that it is yet.
Yeah, scarred by ENIC. I think we all are scarred by ENIC, to be honest. And I do get where he's coming from, because I'm definitely looking to the future of this window much more apprehensively than maybe I would with the start that we have had. Yeah, look, it's a hard one to judge, and I was saying to Daigle yesterday, you can't judge anything just yet. The transfer window hasn't even opened yet. You got to let it all play out, and you got to wait till the end of the window to judge it. Right now, it's way too early. I don't think we've downgraded the defence at all, because you're looking at the players that we've brought in. We've brought in players that we've been desperately needing for so long. We've desperately needed cover at left centre-back, and now we've got two, which we don't mind starting. We've got cover for a doggy or whoever you think he's going to start or not in Andy Robertson. Yeah, look, I'm still on the fence with Andy Robertson, but at least it's a left-back and a Premier League proven left-back to come in. We're bringing in Van Hecke, who I think is a top-quality addition to the team as well. So I think when you're looking at cover, maybe Van Hecke's a slight downgrade on Romero, but if you put everything in it together in terms of what they both bring you on and off the pitch, availability, erratic behaviour, the sendings off, all this kind of stuff, maybe Van Hecke is a slight upgrade in that sense. So I don't think we've downgraded the defence. I think we've upgraded our defence.
Yeah, I don't look at the defence as being downgraded on. I do think Romero is a better player than Van Hecke. That's my opinion. I think he is slightly worse, but if you look, would you rather Romero and Dragashin, if we are to sell Dragashin, that is, Romero and Dragashin or Van Hecke and Senesi? And I think I'd rather Van Hecke and Senesi. You get two quality players there, whereas with the other side, you get one very good player and one awful player, and that very good player as well has a tendency to get sent off and has problems with availability and also injuries. He's also had quite a few injuries as well, people who don't talk about. So I don't see that as a downgrade. I don't see that defence as a downgrade. I think overall, you look at the outline of our defence, and when you put Robertson in there as well, I think it's so much better balanced with those four, and the cover at fullback as well. I think the defence is in a much better place than it was last season, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Tiara Supersonic says, you guys must get away of thinking a midfield needs a 6 and an 8. It depends on the system and the strategy you play and the ability the players bring. And combined together, we don't need an explicit 6. We need a ball-playing first midfielder. Do we need to stop thinking, oh, this one's 6, that's an 8, that's this, that's that? I mean, to be fair, you think of De Zerbi's team at Brighton, he didn't really... I mean, he had Caicedo, but they didn't really play with like a proper 6. Everyone was just, took turns. They were very fluid. Sometimes they played played Gross and Gilmore. They've played in double pivot, with no 6, and that had good performances with that as well. Like, maybe it's not about, oh, we need a 6, we need that. Maybe in certain scenarios, like when we played with Ange, we had like an anchoring player with 2 runners. Then you need like a 6, but we didn't play that under De Zerbi, did we? Last season, we didn't play with really one anchor. We played with just 2 midfielders covering the spaces. Didn't need maybe a specific 6. We just need someone who's... I don't know. What do you think of what she's saying?
I think he might be spot on. I think he might be spot on. Maybe we don't need that monster 6 that we've been craving all this time. But we most definitely, what I agree with the most is we need someone that can pass the ball to a very high level. That's the key attribute that we need. And, maybe some of the midfielders that we've been speaking about, we brought up that geezer from France a few days ago. Maybe he would be a good one, but, he's a box-to-box midfielder, but with
Lamine Camara.
Yeah, high technical passing ability.
Well, after Belaber, apparently.
Yeah, so we need a passer. That's first and foremost.
Yeah, and that's something that, obviously, in the Premier League, unfortunately, it's hard to get away with not having that physicality. I think there's a few players who maybe kind of get away with it, but they still have a baseline physicality. Like, I think you definitely still need to be pretty physical, good traits, but I think you need both. You need to be technical as well. And we just have players at the moment who their physical level is just much higher than their technical level. And we need someone a bit more balanced to both. Deadly Dizzle says, I'm a Spurs fan that lives in Liverpool. The Liverpool fans in the office can't stand Gakpo. They're so frustrated with his decision-making, always predictable, cutting inside and shooting routine, and rarely beats his man on the outside. I don't know if he's an upgrade I don't know if he's the upgrade we want necessarily, but I understand he's a step forward on Tel at the moment.
I think Gakpo, if we were to bring him in, look, I think it's a non-story anyway, because I don't think we'll bring him in. But I think he's better than anything that we've got on that side by far. And I think, fine, Liverpool fans were frustrated with him this season, but I think they were frustrated with a lot of players this season. I think if you cast your mind back to the year they won the league, I think they were delighted with him. I think he had a great season that year. So I think last year he had a bit of a poor season. But he's been at, Liverpool 4 years now? This is 4 years just gone?
Yeah.
And I think he had 3 very good years there. So I think you're talking about Gakpo as a very good player, Premier League proven player, a player that that can score and assist. So, I don't think Spurs fans should be sniffing their nose up at Cody Gakpo because of a poor season. The guy has big quality about him.
I agree. I think the frustration with him is something which I mentioned the last time we talked about him, is he is quite a selfish player. He's a player who does love to cut inside and shoot, even when from improbable angles, and he kind of spams shots in on goal, even when there are better options there. So I think if you're someone who maybe isn't a massive fan of his, he can massively frustrate you when he's constantly doing that. And I think last season as well, there was a lot of pressure on him and focus on him because Salah wasn't doing it. They've obviously sold Diaz. Obviously, one with Jota happened. They lost Nunez. They lost a lot of attackers. Isak wasn't doing it as well. Ekitike was, but then he got injured. So a lot of the focus was on Gakpo to kind of be their star man. And Liverpool weren't functioning that well as a team. So his standards and his quality wasn't maybe at the level that it could have been if he was in a more functioning team than last season. So I think maybe he's harshly looked at for last season, Gakpo, but I see a player who's got lots of quality, a proven goal contributor in the Premier League. I think if we were to get him, he would do a really great job, and someone who could, you're pretty confident he'll get you 15 at least goal contributions next season. Darren Fearon says, I don't think spending money has ever been a problem. It's what we spend our money on. It's the problem. You can get world strikers for the world-class strikers for the price that we paid for Richie and Solanke.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. We've spent a lot of money over the last 3 or 4 years. We spent a lot of money and we finished 17th twice. So that proves the point there.
Exactly. I think when people look at the money and stuff like that, obviously there are problems with our spending, like in terms of how much we spend and how effectively we spend it. But the reality is, they always say that the wage bill correlates with to a really high degree of accuracy. The wage bill correlates with the league table, usually. Not 100%, but it's quite accurate measurement. And that's why the top 5 are always the top 5 and all this kind of stuff. And Tottenham have, I think, the 6th highest wage bill in the Premier League. So based on that, we should be in and around the top 6. So the fact that we're not is not because the money that we're spending. That's not why we were 17th. It's other factors. Now, why we aren't challenging for the Premier League and that stuff, maybe that's because of the money, because the gap there is quite big. So maybe we're not spending enough money to make up that gap. But are we spending enough money to be in the top 6? I think the money says yes. So it's not just about how much you're spending, it's how you spend it, as this guy says. So I think that's proof in the pudding. Puna Kala says, how can one say that Thomas Frank would have kept us up when we got 1 point out of 15 in our easiest run in our 5 home games against the bottom teams under Frank? Again? How can anyone say that Frank would have kept us up when we got 1 point out of 15 in our easiest run in our 5 games with the bottom teams?
That's exactly what we were saying in the last video when we brought this up. Like, the points per game from start to finish would have kept us up, but that wasn't the trajectory we were on. We were on a terrible trajectory. We would have got relegated probably.
Exactly. So I think it's fanciful to think Frank would have kept us up, honestly, given how we were playing and the results were again. Open-minded, wait until says, keep Romero for 1 season. We can't get an upgrade. We can inflate his value. He suits De Zerbi ball, and his availability is less of an issue 1 game a week. And it doesn't block Vuskovic.
I don't think we can inflate his value, to be honest, because his contract will run down a further year. So I think it will counteract each other. Look, Romero wants to leave. We're happy to sell him. So if the guy wants to leave and he doesn't want to play for us anymore, then sell him. What's the point of keeping him as a prisoner?
But what if I said you keep Romero for a year and it doesn't, then bring in Vuskovic and when he's ready, it doesn't block his pathway?
I would say
and then you save money on
to
Van
keep
Hecke.
a player that doesn't want to play for us.
Well, if you can convince him to play and he deserves it,
I'm fed up of trying to convince him. We did that last summer. And he wants to leave all over again this summer, so let him go.
Or if De Zerbi gets in his ear, says, "Look, we need you."
He's been under De Zerbi for the last 7 games of last season, and he still wants to leave.
Or he didn't play.
Doesn't matter. Let him go.
So, but then you're saving money. You're bringing Vuskovic in.
Mm-hmm. Nah, I'm kind of done with Romero, man. I'd rather Van Hecke.
I would be open to it.
I know you would.
I'd be open to it if things were different. But look, at the end of the day, we're getting Van Hecke, so there's no point even mulling over. I think that's where we're going. So I'm not unhappy about it, but I do think Romero is a better player, and it would save money, and it also would create a pathway for Vuskovic right there. So I think it does make sense in a way. But at the end of the day, if he's adamant he wants to leave, I get the feeling also the club do want to get rid. I think from their point of view, like they want the money, and as well, I think from the club's point of view, he's a bit more trouble than he's worth. So I think there's a big willingness from the club to let him go. So at the end of the day, if the relationship's broken down in that sense, there's no point keeping him. Gareth Jones says earlier video was the great shock about how unusual it is for Spurs to move early in the window, and in this one it is all negative about ENIC PR of change. Savinho got 8 assists in the league in his first season, 10th in the league, and would have been 4th most of this season. Don't see how that isn't evidence of end product. Can he be better? Yeah, of course, but he's only really had 1 season in the Prem and then had been a bit part player, but has definitely shown end product ability.
Yeah, he did show it in the first season, to be fair. I think he got 8 or 9. He got 9 assists? No, 8 assists, he says. I think he showed it, but I think this season was just a bit of a backward step for him. And I think, we kept hearing about how Pep believed in him so much and this and that. And, I just don't think his development has gone the way maybe it's all planned at the end of the day. I think he can have that end product, just hasn't shown it this season. That's all I'm going to say.
I think his development, if his development had gone to plan, he wouldn't be on for sale for Tottenham, would he? We wouldn't be able to get him. So I think sometimes you've got to take the opportunity. Like if you see there's a real player, then for some reason or another, it hasn't worked out for City. But if you identify him as a player who you could really help grow and you think has got lots of talent, even if it hasn't worked out at City, doesn't mean you shouldn't go for it, because there's a lot of players maybe you would be missing out on if you had that approach. You know what I mean?
I'm happy to go for it. I never said once that I don't want to see Savinho in a Spurs shirt. The only thing I've been saying about Savinho, I want to see another one alongside him that maybe is a bit better. But, maybe that's just fanciful thinking. If you're going to bring in a winger for 60 million, he probably is going to be your main winger signing. So, look, I am excited about seeing Savinho in a Spurs shirt. And the more and more, it gets closer and closer, I get more and more excited. But there are those question marks over him. You can't get away from it.
James Delaney says, "Happy birthday, Ben." This was yesterday.
Thank you very much.
We need to take our inner Marinakis on this Vuskovic kid. Tell him you're a Spurs player till we say you can fight for our shirt or sit on the bench. That's your only choice. Come on, you Spurs. Should we go full Marinakis on Vuskovic? Chain him up, threaten him, make sure he ain't going. Tell him you ain't going nowhere.
I don't know. I think this is all a decision led by Roberto De Zerbi. I don't think it's him not wanting to play for Spurs. I think if we were to not sign Van Hecke and say you're our guy and put him in the team, I think he'll be more than happy with that. But the kid wants to play. His development has been doing wonders by playing, and he wants to keep that going. So I can't blame him for that. That's the way it should be. So I think this whole thing about him going, him leaving, is because he doesn't know if he's wanted here at Spurs just yet.
Yeah, I think the thing is, we want him, but it's all about whether he's ready. Yeah, I think he said it himself. If Tottenham see me as an option for next season, then great. But he hasn't been told that for sure, has he? So I agree with you. I don't think it's not about him wanting to leave or anything like that. It's about him wanting to keep developing on the trajectory that he's developing on. And at the moment, how he's developed has got him to starting at a World Cup at 19 potentially over the summer. That's the likely situation. That's how well he's developed. He's was in the running for Bundesliga Player of the Year. That's how well he's developed. He doesn't want anything to stop that or stagnate that. And why should he? He shouldn't. Exactly. I think he's absolutely right. So from his point of view, he just wants to play. Doesn't matter. I don't think, obviously he cares where it is, but he doesn't mind if it's at Tottenham or if it's another club. He wants to play football and he wants to keep developing because he knows he's clearly on the trajectory to being a really, really special centre-back.
Exactly, and you can't knock him for that. I think that shows that he's got his head screwed on.
JJ says, it's great if we get this guy, but I think we're going to have a problem with Van de Ven. I think he's talking about it's great if we get Van Hecke, but I think we're going to have a problem with Van de Ven. 85 million to Liverpool and with Romero as well, and quite possibly Vuskovic to Bayern, we may have to reshape the whole defence. Still, I like Phillips, so if he comes in some regard and maybe another purchase, if we have to get rid of all three, we will see how good De Zerbi can be.
Yeah.
He's saying we could potentially lose Van de Ven, Romero and Vuskovic this summer.
I can see Romero and Vuskovic being a possibility, but I don't think we're losing Van de Ven this summer. I think you can clearly see his heart's in it. He's acting as agent to bring Van Hecke over. I think all the words, he's saying all the right things. He looks a lot happier now, speaking in glowing reports of Roberto De Zerbi. So I think Van de Ven is well in this project and excited for next season. Maybe, that conversation can be had about Van de Ven further down the line in a year, 2 years, 3 years, wherever it may be. But for next season, Van de Ven will be here, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think we sell him. Unless a really monstrous fee comes in, but I don't think we sell him at all. It'll take 100 million probably to make us consider it. I just can't see us selling Romero, Van de Ven and Vuskovic. I don't think we would do that. That'd be too crazy. So I think the defence is in a good place.
That sold, who is it? Keane, Defoe, Berbatov.
You're right. That was a while ago though. I think... I think the defence, keep Van de Ven, you get Van Hecke in, you've got Senesi, Robertson. I think the defence is in a good place right now.
Agreed.
And last one, the name is Levy Gone, all of Enoch next. Says
Love that name.
Selling Vuskovic is not acceptable in any terms. Enoch out if they decide to profit on him this summer.
Sounds like Enoch out before they even decide to profit.
Yeah, it seems like it doesn't. There's no. Doesn't sound like there's two ways about it with you.
But no, I agree. It's not acceptable selling Vuskovic. With the talent that this boy has, with the trajectory that he is on, it is not acceptable selling him. It really isn't.
Yeah, 100%. I think at the very most we loan him out to a different team, but we shouldn't be accepting offers right now for Vuskovic. The only worry is. The only worry I would say is that let's say we do loan Vuskovic out to a team, an attacking team, let's say Dortmund or something, and he's just getting exposed in that higher line because he can't really cope with it. All of a sudden, he goes from like an £80 million player to like half that over 1 year. But
I'm willing to take that risk.
Yeah, true.
Because I think he has, you've predicted him as your breakout star for the World Cup, and if he does that, his value goes up even more.
You're right.
So look, there you have it. Those are your comments. A big up to each and every one of you. Keep them coming in. We'll keep reacting to them. But that is all we have for you guys today. Remember to head over to OK Jersey to get 15% off all your football clobber, from World Cup to Tottenham to Premier League to the Round Europe. The link is pinned to the live chat. 15% off using code Spurs15, okjersey.com. Get your stuff today. Top quality stuff. But thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll see you all very soon. You never know, might get a Here We Go today, might get a Senesi announcement. We are ready and waiting to bring you the content. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, come on you Spurs.